Welcome to the Orion Bowl 2025 season. Hello and welcome to week 6 of the Orion Bowl NFL Fantasy League. I am Commissioner Burt. This video is purely for the members of the league. If you're not in the league, I don't know what you're doing here, but feel free. I'm not going to physically stop you from watching. You can if you want. There'll be little tidbits of fantasy advice in here. I mean, mostly what not to do. If you base it on what the people are doing wrong, do the opposite of that. That is some actual good fantasy advice. Anyways, let's get started by recapping week number 5. The Gorillas handed yours truly a pretty devastating loss. Devastating for one reason, in that I would have beaten any other team in the league last week with my score. I was the second highest scorer, lost by 2 points. Those are the kind of losses that will really cost you, and those are the kind of losses that will remove you from the playoffs. I guarantee it. That one is going to come back to haunt me. Congratulations, Gorillas, that all of your team basically trebled their projected, whilst mine just underperformed by about 2 points on each is more or less what happened. But on to the next week. Congratulations, Gorillas. Hell of a win. And you know what? It's very, very close this year. Everybody's on like 3-2. Well, I say everybody. There's 2 teams running away with it, but I'll get to those in a minute. Forbesy Niners are bolting those wheels back on. They're bolted on hard. They're bolted on tight because they handed the Vikings their 4th loss of the season. It's not been a great start for the Vikings, but they've had some injury issues. I'm sure that they will be able to right the ship because they've got some quality on that team, which we'll look into when we recap this week's matchup. We've got the Harlots doing just enough to get past the team with no name, making them go 3-2. Then you've got Legion of Best Team in the League. That's what their new name is. The Legion of the Best Team in the League, but the 3rd highest score this week. Beating baby got Dak. And look, with the numbers that Taylor is doing alone on this season, you've got Kamara in there as well. You've got an informed Dak Prescott. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. That team is a team of monsters. Arizona got a measly 2.4 from Woody Marks, but who would have thought that would be the difference maker? That would be the 2 points that he needed to go 4-1 on the season, dealing the Suns a loss by a measly 2 points. Congratulations, Arizona, and to everybody that won this week. Sweet D of the week was the New Orleans Saints on the Arizona Cardinal team with 18 points. Now we take a look at week number 6. So we've got the Ravens versus the Vikings here. Now, it's a must-win for the Ravens. It's a must-win for the Vikings. Someone's going to give. It's probably going to be a draw now, isn't it? That would be the worst. The worst outcome for both of us, Vikings, is if we draw this. And it does happen. It has happened before. I think I've been handed a lifeline here because Lamar Jackson's out. Lamar Jackson is ruled out. O-U-W-T, out. So we've got Herbert in there featuring Carl Urban and Wayne The Rock Johnson. That's a perfectly good replacement, and that would normally, so far to this season, that would worry me. But I've kind of shored up my quarterback position because I made a blockbuster trade. I traded away Ashton Genty, Breece Hall, and Michael Pittman Jr. for Josh Allen and big Travis Etienne. And because I still had Jokins, I've still got Deebo Samuel in there as well, also Bijan Robinson. So I've got Nick Chubb, who's on a bye. I've also got Travis Etienne in there as well. I'm still absolutely fine at running back, but man, I needed some better quality at quarterback, and who better than the number 1 quarterback in the league, somebody who has carried me to many a victory over the season. I managed to rectify a mistake. It was a mistake not to keep Josh Allen. I could admit that now. I could admit that now that I've got him back on my lineup. I would have never admitted that before, but it was a mistake not to keep Josh Allen, and I will not be making that mistake again. He's now going to be a Baltimore Raven until he retires or I die, whichever comes first. So I also picked up Rico Dowdle because there's another gentleman who's out this week, and that is Chuba Hubbard. So with Hubbard out, Hubbard. Anyway, Chuba Hubbard out. Rico Dowdle is going to be taking. Dowdle did some damage. Dowdle did damage in last week's game, and this week it's a revenge game against his former team. So I am going all in on Dowdle this week. I'm also playing Quinshon Judkins because you can't not play him on the form that he's on. He was a fantastic pickup. I don't know how he was available. I didn't even have to use waivers. No idea how he was available. Samuel, Edgebooker, both good. You've got Bijan Robinson in the flex because he's playing on a Tuesday night, so it's the last game. So you want your flex, your wide receiver / running back, so you've got options. You want to play that last, really, which is the opposite strategy to some people. Steelers defense, Jaguars defense are number 1 on the league against Seattle, though. That's a tough matchup for the Vikings defense. Look, you've got Jacobs. Dobbins, I think, does some damage against the Jets because the Jets are just a car crash of a team at the moment. Metcalf has been looking good. Garrett Wilson, I think he's dangerous. But overall, I have to say, I think I do fancy myself to get back into the win column this week. But you know how my predictions go. It's probably going to be the opposite. But yeah, looking at it on balance, I have to back my guys. And they didn't really have a bad week last week. It's just that Gorillas had a better week. On balance, if my team keep performing the way they are, I'm hopefully going to win more than I lose. But you need a bit of fortune to go along with that. So fingers crossed, I'm taking myself to win. Then you move on to the Legion of best team in the league versus the team with no Namath. And you've got, this is one of those weeks where for some reason Namath have played their flex as the early game. I don't understand why you've done that, because now you've if one of your wide receivers or running backs goes out, you have to replace them like for like. Whereas at least you have some flexibility in the flex, which is why normally you would play your wide receiver, like early wide receiver, in a wide receiver slot, and then play one of your Sunday players in the flex. That's just how I would do it. But what do I know? I ain't got any rings. Namath has. He's got one. So, maybe I'm the one that's out of their mind. Either way, 8 points from AJ Brown. Might not sound good, but 2025 AJ Brown, my God, you're taking that all day long, because he's perfectly capable of putting up less than 1, as we've seen a couple of times this season. And yeah, I feel bad for AJ Brown owners, because you can't drop him. Someone will pick him up and then he'll find good form. But at the moment, on stats alone, you should be dropping him, really. But yeah, either way, can't play him with confidence. And the fact that his ceiling this season seems to be 8 points is why. Outside of that, you've got Cook, who's the number 1 running back in the league, but he's not hit some form. Good pickup on Haskins, because Haskins is likely going to be the number 1 back. There are 2 that have been elevated, but I think Haskins is probably going to be the number 1 back at the LA Chargers now that both Najee Harris and O'Hampton have gone down. But honestly, I don't see your running backs doing enough to get past Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor. And then you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Pickens. I mean, I've got to say, it's probably going to be a win for the Legion of best team in the league once again. And then you've got Arizona versus the Forbesy Niners. Brought to you by My Protein Bribe. Moose. My Protein Bribe. Moose. The My Protein, not a bribe. Well, it is a bribe. Basically, the Arizona Cardinal team franchise owner has decided to give me one of these once per week, as long as I pick against him, because my picks, if I pick you to win, basically the opposite will happen, is the growing theme in the league. Although there has been some data brought out by the coach's sons who disputes that evidence. And either way, most of the time, people prefer it if I pick them to lose, because I think they just feel better. It's a superstition. People are superstitious. But this is the My Protein Moose. So this is Muller My Protein, because this is my protein in a moose, and it's a moose. And it's my protein, but this could be your protein. It's chocolate. It's a mousse, because it's got it's my protein every time. 49ers to win. Landslide, no chance for the Arizona Cardinal. And then we've got Dak versus the Harlots. Baby got Dak versus the San Diego Harlots. Both of these teams have been dicked by the Eagles so far this week, with only a 4.9 from Devontae Smith and a measly 6.7 from Saquon Barkley. And you want more than that from Saquon Barkley if you're a Saquon Barkley owner. Do you know what hurts even more than that? He's got Scalabur on his bench sitting on 29 points. That really, really does hurt. But to be honest, this is still going to be a close matchup, I think, because I did the Harlots a huge favour by doing a trade and diddling myself back into Josh Allen. Oh, yeah, that's right. Josh Allen is now a Baltimore Raven. And so you're playing, Jordan Love against Cincinnati probably will have quite a big day because Cincinnati have not been good. But I don't see Jordan Love doing Josh Allen numbers on a weekly basis. And so for that reason, I think Daniels got a decent matchup against Chicago. Then you've got Breece Hall and Gene T. Look, Breece Hall, he has been one of the only good things on the Jets team this season. His floor is about 12 points, and that is really good. You want that. I don't see Breece Hall getting less than about 12, but also I don't see him getting more than about 14. So it's okay. He's going to be okay. He's going mid. Now, Gene T, he's had one really good week. Gene T's the reason I traded Gene T away is because Gene T is the kind of guy who's going to come good later on in the season and is probably a keeper for next season, if I'm being honest. But by that time, it's too late for my team, and I wanted Josh Allen back at all costs. So, look, Gene T's really good. He could go for 30 points, but more than likely, he's going to go for about between 10 and 15. Nothing too dangerous there. Now, Corey Williams, he's been in really good form. And you've got Jahmyr Gibbs there as well. So I think on balance, the Harlots have probably edged that one, honestly. Like Devontae Adams, he's been okay, but he's not been brilliant. I think Smith Njigba and Bourne, that's a bit, it's a decent pickup because obviously Godwin's out. So it's going to move him up the depth chart slightly. But he's not going to get targeted over Edge Booker, I wouldn't have thought. So, we'll see on that one. It might be a genius pickup, might look like a Devontae Smith score. But either way, I think that really, on balance, I think the Harlots will edge that one, but it's going to be close. I think it will come down to the Daniels-Jordan Love battle. I think Daniels might put up more points. And then we have got the coach's sons versus the Dallas Stray Gorillas. This is a really big matchup, and the coach's sons have been dicked already by another example of people playing their flex in the early game. Why? Also, why would you pick Tracy? Because Scadaboo has been the guy in New York. Scadaboo, hilarious. Well, I cannot get enough of that guy. He's just so funny. He's my favorite thing about the NFL right now. Scadaboo and Jackson Dart, my favorite thing about the NFL. They're just so funny. They're like a comedy double act. I absolutely love it. And they're fun to watch play as well, which is what you want. But you want more than a 0.6 from Tracy. It was a risky move. It was a risky pick, and that risk did not pay off. Jamar Chase, questionable. He's probably going to play. But unbelievably, Christian McCaffrey's still fit. So that's very good for the Suns. Krosky Merritt also came into form. He's looking like he's the number one back now in Washington. That backfield was a bit uncertain in weeks past, but I think you can play Krosky Merritt with a bit more confidence this week, if I'm being totally honest. Baker Mayfield against San Francisco should look absolutely brilliant. Xavier Worthy is a bit up in the air. Aubrey. The Rams defense could be the real difference maker there for the coach's sons. I don't like the 49ers defense against Tampa Bay. That's a ballsy move because, Baker Mayfield has just been putting points up for fun. I don't see the 49ers defense doing an awful lot to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense other than getting scored on, if I'm being honest. But that Rams D against a banged up Baltimore team who have not looked very good, I'm taking the Rams D for 12 to 15 points. I think that's what they're going to go high this week. Pat Mahomes, he's not been Pat Mahomes. Swift and Williams. To be honest, I think that last week the Gorillas team really overperformed. I don't see them having the matchups to keep that up going into a second week for that reason. And the Rams defense putting up a monster score, I'm going with the coach's sons to beat the Dallas Stray Gorillas. And that is the video for this week. If I picked you to win, prove me right. But if I picked you to lose, prove me wrong. And I'll see you next week.